Hi, I'm Mrs. Kalachow, and welcome to Storytime at AgWorks. Today we are going to be reading Just Like Us Plants. And it is written by Bridget Heos and illustrated by David Clark. Just Like Us Plants. Plants, the inside scoop. People think, talk, and walk around. Plants do none of those things, so how can they be anything like us? Well, did you know that plant leaves communicate with one another? Plants also wear perfume and cunning disguises. They even wage war using battle armor and weapons. Read on to learn about our bodacious botanical friends and how they are just like us. Sunlight, it's what's for dinner. Whether at the beach, ball game, or park, people love to bask in the sun. Plants do too, but they don't just soak up rays. To them, it's dinner. Leaves, whether flat like an oak leaf or skinny like a pine needle, absorb sunlight. Then, in a process known as photosynthesis, they turn sunlight, water, nutrients, and carbon dioxide into plant food. Just as people reach for a snack when they're hungry, leaves grow toward open sunlight. Eventually, every patch of light is filled, which is why trees provide such perfect shade. Meanwhile, plants in the shade grow larger leaves in order to absorb as much sunlight as possible. The leaves of some aroid plants, for instance, grow to 10 feet long and 3 feet across. Unbelievable. Just breathe. People breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Plants do just the opposite. They absorb carbon dioxide through pores in their leaves, and they release oxygen through the same process. The carbon then becomes part of the plant. A 40-year-old tree can store 1 ton of carbon, the weight of a rhinoceros. In this way, plants help to slow climate change, which is caused by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Be sure to drink 8,000 glasses of water a day. People need water to be healthy, but we lose water through breathing, sweating, and going to the bathroom. That's why many people try to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Trees lose water too. In a process called transpiration, water evaporates from pores in the tree's leaves. It's the tree equivalent to sweating. An NBA player produces more sweat than a kid shooting hoops, and the bigger the tree, the more it sweats too. One of the tallest trees on Earth, the Eucalyptus reganis, loses hundreds of gallons per day through transpiration. So it must soak up thousands of glasses of water daily. The water comes up through the roots and follows a system of long, hollow connected cells until it reaches the topmost leaves, which can be as high as 325 feet. That's a tall drink of water. Oh, were you going to drink that? The Australian Christmas tree blooms during the hot, dry summer, Christmas time in Australia. To get the water its flowers need, the tree does something rather grinchy. Its roots encircle and slice through roots of neighboring plants. Then the Christmas tree sucks up all the water for itself. Happy holidays, gulp. Come for the nectar, stay to get eaten alive. Most plants get their nutrition from water, which has absorbed nutrients from the soil. But in some environments, the soil has hardly any nutrition at all. So plants have adapted to eating meat in the form of flies. The Venus flytrap grows in the marshes of North and South Carolina. Each leaf has 2 spiky lobes that release nectar, the Kool-Aid of the insect world. Smelling the delicious leaf, the fly lands on the leaf, but when it touches the spikes, the lobes snap shut. As the fly struggles, the plant releases hydrochloric acid, stomach acid, and digest the insect alive. Nothing like a side order of flies. Say it with flowers. The right mix of sunlight, water, and nutrition, with the right mix of sunlight, water, and nutrition, plants grow up and have babies, just like people. A plant baby is a seed. Before the seed can grow, pollen from the plant's stamen, the male part of the flower, must fertilize the plant's eggs in the pistil, the female part of the flower. Sometimes this happens within a single plant. Other times the pollen and eggs come from two different plants. In that case, plants rely on animals to transport the pollen. Plants attract animals with a dab of perfume. Like the aroma of chocolate chip cookies wafting from the kitchen, a flower's smell tells animals there's a sugary treat inside. Nectar. Insects, birds, and small mammals flock to the flowers. As they sip the delicious nectar and eat the nutritious pollen, some of the pollen sticks to the animals, and when they visit the next flower, they bring the pollen with them and deposit it onto the flower's eggs. A seed is born. Thanks, animal friends. Ode to Dead Horse. Purplish pink, thick and fleshy, the dead horse arum lily looks and smells like rotting flesh. Bowflies can't resist. They swarm the lily and burrow deep inside where it's extra warm and stinky, just like the inside of a dead horse. Yum. There, they drink the nectar and pollinate the flower. Sadly, so many flies visit the putrid lily that the exit is often blocked and the flies die inside. In the end, the delicious dead horse smell was simply too good, I mean bad, to be true. Be mine. Flowers don't attract animals just by wearing perfume, but by dressing up too. People wear costumes on Halloween. The mirror orchid wears a disguise all the time. It looks like a flower with a female bee resting on the top. It even smells like a female bee. A male makes a beeline for the flower, hoping to mate with the female. When he lands, a petal from the orchid folds over and places pollen on his head. Undeterred, he visits the next bee. A petal on the new flower folds over, but this time the bee deposits the pollen onto the petal. He visits several more flowers before realizing they're not really bees. What a buzzkill. Picking flowers. Different flowers attract different animals. For instance, pale flowers can be seen at night, so they attract nocturnal creatures such as bats and moths. Colorful flowers attract butterflies and birds, which fly by day. Butterflies alight on fragrant flowers, but the flowers birds pollinate, such as poinsettias, don't have very strong scents. That's because many pollinating birds lack a good sense of smell. They're smeller blind. Apples to apples. Once pollinated, a plant produces seeds. Lots of them, actually. An apple tree, for instance, can produce 400 apples in a season, each containing several seeds. They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but in order to get sunlight, seeds must leave their parents' shady side. Unlike humans, they can't walk away, but they have their own way of getting around. Some catch a ride inside an animal's belly. Like flowers, fruit is colorful and sweet-smelling so that it will attract the attention of animals. They eat the fruit, digesting all but the seeds. The seeds wind up in the animal's poop, and this provides fertilizer to help the seeds grow. Not all seeds become plants, of course. Some never get the proper water and sunlight, and that's a good thing. What if every apple tree produced more than 400 new apple trees each spring? Apples would soon take over the world. Stinky cheese fruit. Sometimes a fruit's yumminess is in the eye, or rather the nose, of the beholder. Durian fruit grows in Malaysia and Indonesia. Its smell has been compared to that of pig poop, rotten onions, and dead people. The fruit is so smelly that it is banned on Singapore subways, and yet animals and people alike are drawn to it. They hack through its prickly skin and suck the white, creamy fruit surrounding the seeds, which is reportedly delicious in that stinky cheese way. Can I have a ride? Can I? Can I? Other seeds bum a ride, not inside the animal's stomach, but on its legs, tail, and anywhere else they stick. These seeds have prickly outer layers called burrs. Wild carrot seeds, for instance, are covered in tiny hooks which act like Velcro on an animal's fur or on your shoelaces. The animal carries the annoying passengers around until they finally become unstuck. If one falls on a patch of sunlight, it takes root and produces a new crop of hitchhikers, up to 700 seeds in a single plant's lifetime. Coconut cruise. Coconuts are fruits too, but they don't bum rides. They are the luxury travels of the plant world. A cruise? Don't mind if I do. Coconut trees grow on beaches just above the high tide line. When ripe, the fruits fall from the tree and make their way down the slope of the beach where the tide washes them out to sea. Bon voyage! Coconuts are perfectly designed for the ocean journey. Their hairy outsides are strong and waterproof. Their insides are partially hollow, making them light enough to float. Finally, they take a long time to sprout, up to 220 days, which is important because if they sprout while in the ocean, they'll die. When the coconut arrives safely on the next shore, the new roots soak up the coconut juice and absorb nutrients from the coconut meat. Finally, the tree takes root in the sand. Ah, another day in paradise. One of them fancy helicopters. While some seeds set sail, others fly the friendly skies. Each maple tree seed has a wing so that when it falls, it spins like a helicopter. In this way, the seed can fly far away from its parent tree. Dandelion seeds also fly, or rather float. The seeds are topped with white threads which act as parachutes and can carry the seeds for miles on a windy day. That's not a thorn. This is a thorn. Plants don't mind when animals mooch some nectar, pollen, or fruit, but if a hungry critter takes a bite out of a leaf, that means war. After all, plants need their leaves for soaking up sunlight. Plants use a variety of weapons to defend themselves. Like people, they wear armor in the forms of spikes, thorns, and prickles. Spines, such as those on a cactus, grow like leaves. Thorns grow the same way as branches and tend to be long and strong. Prickles grow on the surface of a plant and are more easily broken off than thorns. Contrary to poetry, every rose does not have a thorn. Every rose has a prickle. Luckily for the rose, a thorn by any other name still hurts, and most animals don't like eating sharp objects of any kind, whether a thorn, a spike, or a prickle. Leave me alone. During an invasion, people fight back. Plants do too, and their weapons are quite painful. Stinging nettle, for example, has tiny hairs on its stems and leaves. If you touch the plant, the hairs break off, cutting your skin and releasing chemicals that burn and sting. People touch stinging nettle only accidentally. Rabbits and other animals avoid eating the plant altogether. Caterpillars, on the other hand, munch away, somehow avoiding the painful stings. Caterpillar bit me and it really hurt. Some leaves work together to unleash their poison on hungry caterpillars. When leaves from a tomato plant are eaten by caterpillars, those leaves sound the alarm. The other leaves receive the message and produce poison. This poison makes the insect unable to digest the tomato leaves. Good teamwork, tomatoes. Actually, two heads are not better than one. African bugleweed has the most grotesque weaponry of all. The plant produces a chemical similar to caterpillar growth hormone, but it causes abnormal growth. At first, nothing happens to the caterpillar after eating the plant, but when it metamorphoses into a butterfly, it grows 2 heads and dies. Needless to say, butterflies avoid laying eggs on this plant. At least those that have 1 good head on their shoulders do. The taking tree. Plants aren't always on the defensive. They wage war on other plants too. Vines are the pirates of the plant world, stealing sunlight by climbing up their host trees. Some vines are harmless. Others, like the strangler fig tree, are killers. When fig vine seeds land on the branches of another tree, they sprout. Their roots grow over the tree until they reach the ground, soaking up water and nutrients from the soil. The roots strengthen and grow. Soon the roots cover the tree, so the trunk can no longer expand. At the same time, the fig leaves tower over the host leaves, robbing them of sunlight. The tree dies and rots away. By now, the vines can stand on their own, so the strangler fig, well, it doesn't give a fig. An Eggcellent Disguise. Plants use disguise not just to attract pollinators, but for defense too. The heliconius butterfly lay their eggs on the passion vine, which is what caterpillars eat. But if mama insect sees other eggs on the plant, she flies off to a different vine. After all, caterpillars eat a lot, and she wants to make sure her babies will only have to share with each other. To fool the butterfly, the plant produces yellow bumps that look like eggs. This tells the butterfly, move along, there's nothing here to eat. Experts at disguise, heroes on the battlefield, and sweet-smelling to boot, plants really are a lot like us. Not to get too flowery, but perhaps the next time you stop to smell the roses, you should tip your hat to them too. So that is Just Like Us, Plants. I hope you enjoyed the story.